Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Erik Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. She is coming straight from the Berg. She is none other than Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend? How was your week?
Pretty good so far. Can't complain. I feel like we kind of need to apologize to the listeners because we weren't here last week. But
Right.
I don't know. I was trying to be nice and give you an extra week with your belt, so we were just
Uh,
like, we'll just skip it for now. I mean, there was really only, four matches that
yeah,
we'll have to
format.
talk about today, so it wasn't really like we were gonna, I don't know. The channel was not going to collapse because we forgot or didn't do our predictions for the Rumble, but
Well, the
we
thing is too,
managed.
like there was only four matches on the card. Two are rumbles, so those are kind of hard to predict. And so
Yeah.
we only would have had two matches to predict. It wouldn't have been a sufficient show. So we made a creative decision to bypass last week and just wait for the rumble to happen. So we actually had something to talk about. And that's what we're talking about tonight on tonight's show is the WWE 2026 Royal Rumble event from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The first time the Royal Rumble is held outside of North America. And it was a very interesting uh, show in terms of the environment and the atmosphere and them being in Saudi Arabia. One thing I want to note is that even though the stadium looked empty, it wasn't really empty. It was the lighting effects that they tried to use in Saudi Arabia seating that made the stadium look drastically empty. Did it look empty to you when you were watching?
Oh, absolutely. There were some times where it's like I was wondering if they were just like plugging people in just to like fill space because it was like it looked like it was empty and then all of a sudden there'd be people and it's like the lights really I don't think they were really necessary. I think that was just a oh look what we can do kind of feature and it just is kind of useless because it clearly backfired on them because now we're wondering was it really that empty or were there people and you couldn't see it because of the lights or was that a distraction because there weren't that many people. So not the best idea on their part, but it's the Saudi government. They're gonna throw their weight around and they have the fuck you money so they can do whatever they want. And yeah, it was a very interesting's a good word to put it. Interesting pay-per-view because I actually got to watch it finally. One of the local bars was actually playing it, so my mom and a couple friends and I went out and watched it. So unfortunately, I can't make the judgment of is it worth the money because this time there was no money involved. We just went
Mm,
and bought food, but yeah, it sucks because obviously we've talked about how the Rumble is my favorite like WWE pay-per-view just for
right.
the potential surprises and you never know what's going to happen. And I feel like both the Rumbles this year were very underwhelming to me
Mm,
personally because it was obviously we'll get into it a little bit later, but it just didn't have that I don't know how to that little extra like sparkle or something. Like neither
right.
of the matches really had that
Right.
and obviously I'll go into more detail when we talk about them, but it was just kind of like I mean, overall the pay-per-view wasn't bad. It was just like okay, it was a show that happened
Right.
and that that's about it.
Right. I think what it was we've become accustomed to thinking that the Royal Rumble is going to be full of surprises, and there weren't really any surprises. There was one surprise that we'll talk about later on in the Women's Royal Rumble, but there weren't any surprises in the Men's Royal Rumble. It was basically constructed to be just the Royal Rumble match. So I think what it is that we've grown accustomed to seeing some sort of surprise in the Royal Rumble. The past couple Royal Rumbles hasn't really had that surprise. In this Royal Rumble in particular, for both the men and the women, they didn't really have a bunch of surprises in terms of oh, we didn't expect to see that person in the Royal Rumble. I
Yeah.
mean, the women's had one towards the very end, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but the men's really just didn't have any surprises, and but they did do the thing which I'll talk about a little later more, of the Masked Man attacking Braun Breaker and not allowing Braun Breaker to really compete in the Royal Rumble because he got thrown in there and then tossed right back out by the number
Yeah.
one entrant. So they tried to like drama it up a little bit, but to me it just kind of, it just really didn't do anything in terms of the match and getting me to go wow. To me it was just going, I was just like, oh great, another Masked Man situation.
Yeah, I think you made a very good point because I feel like the whole reason a lot of people, myself included, love the Rumble so much is just the possibility for the surprises and the, oh wow, we didn't really see that coming. And yeah, there was some drama in these Rumbles, but when it came to surprises, there were none really, and the ones that were considered surprises were really just kind of like whatever for me. I mean, sure, some people enjoyed them. I sure as shit didn't. But
Mm,
I think another thing too is that I think people remember the Rumble initially as kind of like this is the match that's gonna make like somebody's career. This is gonna be the thing that jumpstarts somebody's career, or this is like a big star defining moment for them.
mm,
And now it's kind of devolved into yeah, whatever makes sense creatively in our minds is going to be who wins it. And it's just like, okay, but you you kind of have to not have some people who are already established. Both winners, unfortunately, could fit that bill because it's like, okay, well, neither of them really need it. I mean, one of them especially didn't need like to main event a WrestleMania
mm.
because they won the Rumble. They could have just done that because of who they are. But we'll get into that in a minute. But it's like, yeah, it feels like the last few Rumbles have kind of lost the sparkle for me a little bit, which is a shame because I love the Rumble so much. But yeah, the last few over the past few years have just been very underwhelming for me, and I wish that they would pick that up a little bit, but I don't know if they will. But yeah, a little disappointing to say the least.
Yeah. Well, we got four matches to get into, including the Royal Rumble for the men and the women. So, if just a little, I guess, programming note, the show might be a little bit on the light side because, again, this was only a four-match card with two Royal Rumbles. So, it might seem like we're breezing through. I am going to read you basically my notes, and I explain this all the time, but that's to really make sure you guys don't think I'm being a robot. The way I write my notes for when I'm watching a pay-per-view, I basically write them out as if I'm dictating them back to you. So it may
Yeah.
seem like I'm just reading off like a teleprompter, but I'm just reading my notes, and that's the best way. Because if not, it's hard for me. I don't know what it is. My brain, I don't know if you have this problem or maybe it's just me and my ADHD. I have a hard time remembering things that happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it's tough
actually,
sometimes. I get it.
yeah, and I actually had to go back and rewatch the Royal Rumble when I was taking these notes. But again, that's what we're going to be doing, going over the notes and talking about the match. Now, the show started off with the women's Royal Rumble, which has become pretty much a tradition right now. They started off with the women's Royal Rumble, and to be honest with you, the women's Royal Rumble for the past couple of years has been a little bit better than the men's Royal Rumble. I gotta say that might be the case this year too. I think I enjoyed the women's Royal Rumble a little bit more than the men's.
But yeah, I'd say I feel like I mean between the two winners, I was a little more I wouldn't say accepting, but just I didn't mind the winner of the women's rumble as much as the men's where it was just like what the hell was that all about? But yeah, it was pretty good. It had its own little it was a little more dramatic, kind of like what you're talking about with the men's, but it wasn't as forced. It
Right,
had some organic moments in there, like obviously the stuff with Charlotte and Alexa, that was a big thing.
right.
You threw the stuff in there with Bailey and Lyra and Becky and Natty and Maxine, and so there was plenty of drama and stuff in there that it didn't seem like it was forced or just all came naturally, but the thing that just got me about this match was just the lack of any type of surprise.
Yeah.
Like I have the list up here right now. So really the only ones I guess you could I mean, I don't know, consider surprises, I guess we'll just say would have been possibly Lola Vice from NXT.
Hmm.
I wouldn't really really count Sol Ruka as a surprise because I feel like she's been such like a prominent name lately that it really wasn't much of a surprise. Going down the line again. JC Jane, Kalani Jordan, and I'm sure the big one that a lot of people, not myself included, cared about was as the big surprise was Brie Bella, and I'm
Right.
like, that's the best you can fucking do is Brie Bella. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people like them, whatever, whatever. It's just like I've never personally been a fan of either of them, so
Right.
I'm just like, okay, like you could have had anybody else if like somebody you I think a lot of people were expecting Soraya, a lot of people were expecting AJ Lee. I was expecting Blake Monroe. I don't know where the hell she was. I was expecting Zarya, but I feel like it makes a little more sense with Soul being the only one because it's more, tension between her and Zarya, I guess, but still it was just like there were so many people that it's like where were they? Why weren't they in this match? And it was just like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, but that was fine, I guess. However, I was happy that they had Soul make it to the final four, as she should
Mm.
have been, final three. I was very happy about that because she definitely deserves it. I feel like she's definitely become one of the breakout stars of NXT and is probably going to be up on the main roster sooner rather than later for all the reasons. But yeah, and then and then Tiffany Stratton being the 30th, I'm like, really? Like it was so funny how, because of course I guess I had the unique experience of I could tell you what the general consensus of the whole bar was because there was a decent crowd at the bar for the pay-per-view. When Tiffany showed up, everyone just collectively just groaned. They're like,
Really?
really? This is the 30th? This is the big surprise. This is like, oh, we couldn't have, no, nobody was happy to see her at all. And it was just yeah, so I was a little disappointed in that sense, but Liv winning I'm not surprised by because I feel like there really wasn't anybody else that I was like, yeah, this one definitely makes the most sense. This is like the best idea. This is the best scenario. I feel like she was pretty much it.
Mm.
I just don't understand why we had to have Tiffany Stratton in the finals four, final three, but it is what it is, clearly. I would have personally had probably, uh, I don't know. My friends and I were kind of going back between Io and Rhea, but it was the final three were what they were, and like I said, I'm just glad they kept Soul in there for as long as she did. I mean, Charlotte, God, she was in there for almost an hour, which
Yeah,
is
she was in there.
insane.
By the time, according to my notes, by the time they had counted, she was in there for like 41 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she ended up getting eliminated by Lash Legend, who had a really big night.
Oh yeah.
Lash Legend with 5 eliminations under her own belt for the 2026 Royal Rumble. So Lash Legend had a big night. That was really cool to see people like Lash Legend, Soul Ruka, different people kind of shine. I feel like
Yeah.
different people shone brighter, and like JC Jane had a little bit of a little shine in there.
Yeah.
She was looking real good. So I feel like a lot of the newcomers who were there in their first, second Royal Rumbles were really doing really good, especially like Kiana James, who made her
Yeah.
debut. Kiana James was fantastic in the Royal Rumble. She had a great showing as well. That was the thing about this Rumble. This Rumble didn't have many surprises, but to me, it lived up to the chaotic, almost like anxiety inducing action that we
Hmm.
expect with the Royal Rumble. For
Yeah.
me,
I feel like the surprises I think were more in the match themselves, not so much who
right,
was in it. Like the
right.
whole thing with Charlotte and Alexa, I think was like the big thing out of the Rumble where it was like I honestly, I feel like I called it. I don't know if you did too when Charlotte came out first. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really fucking funny when Alexa's number two, and then lo and behold, she was number two. But I was like, okay, so they're gonna like just all's fair in like the Rumble, or are they gonna just like not wrestle each other? Is there gonna be some tension? There was some tension there here and there, but it wasn't really like anything horrible
Yeah, they were kind of like
until
playing
Alexa got
around with each other.
yeah, and then Alexa got eliminated by Charlotte, and I'm like, oh boy,
Yeah,
like, ugh. I'm like, that's gonna be some fun backstage. You're gonna have a lot of explaining to do when you get in the back, and I'm sure they're gonna, you know, I'm sure they're going to talk about that at some point, or keep that going further out of the Rumble. But yeah, it was chaotic in a lot of ways. There was a lot of storylines and scenarios and whatnot that can come out of the Rumble besides Charlotte and Alexa. But yeah, it's going to be interesting too with the Judgment Day, because I feel like that was also kind of the big thing was, is this further going to, drive a wedge between literally everybody within the Judgment Day, because they're all kind of on, pins and needles with each other right now. But yeah, it was for me a surprise standpoint. I was disappointed, but from the match itself, it was pretty good. I couldn't complain about it.
right. Let me ask you, what about the surprise elimination with Liv Morgan eliminating Raquel Rodriguez? I felt like
Yeah.
that was a huge moment during the show. That was like, wow, I can't believe that actually happened.
Yeah, that we were all kind of shocked too, because it was just like, she's like in it to win it. That's the thing, because that's the thing with the Rumbles. And again, that's why I think another reason why I like it is it creates so much like drama and layers with, yeah, there's a good chance you're going to have friends or teammates or whatever in this match. But at the end of the day, only one of you is going to WrestleMania. Like, there's no, oh, well, we'll co-win. But I mean, they could try that. That'd be kind of silly. But it's just like, at the end of the day, you gotta have to look out for yourself.
Right.
And Liv's like, yeah, we're in the Judgment Day, whatever, but this is my moment and you're in the way of it, so get out. And she did. And again, that's another one where I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of explaining to do on that one, but she wanted to win and she did what she had to do.
Yeah, I am actually happy with the choice of Liv Morgan winning the Royal Rumble this year. I kind of like the fact that she's constantly been the runner up, the bridesmaid, but never the
Yeah.
bride. And
Yep.
this was finally her year to do it, and she actually did. And to me, I feel like Liv has consistently delivered in everything that is asked of her to do. She's always over delivered, always made it the best. And for me, I'm very excited for her to go on to WrestleMania. Now, the assumption is that she'll be going after Stephanie Vaquer, since Stephanie Vaquer was able to defeat Raquel in their Philly street fight on
Yeah,
Raw.
thank God.
So, Liv versus Stephanie Vaquer will definitely sell some tickets for WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, if you had to pick between those two and Liv and Jade, I feel like we kind of know what the marquee matchup is. It's just I don't know, maybe they just kind of forgot that, Jade has to try and defend the title at least a little bit, but that's a whole other can of worms for another day.
Well,
But yeah,
I think Liv. If you were to pair her up against Jade Cargill, Liv would probably wrestle circles around Jade.
oh yeah.
And
She was
that's what,
Dark Walker, yeah.
yeah, I think they wanted to avoid that, and they have a good pairing, a good wrestling pairing between
Yeah.
Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan. Like those are two hoopers basically, and they're gonna go
Yeah.
out there and on the biggest stage, they're gonna definitely show out. So they're gonna have a fantastic wrestling match for sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for it. I'll be very interested to see what they do with Jade, because it's, I don't know. Do we want to go so far as to say she's being exposed right now? Do we want to take it there, or is it
But
just
I
kind of
don't know. I can't, because I don't know the circumstance. I don't know the reasoning behind not having her defend the title, not having her in the ring quite often. It's not because of injury.
Yeah, and they're not running the whole, oh, well, I'm the champion, but I'm never going to wrestle so I don't lose it, because that's also a very dumb idea. But it's just like, are you secretly admitting that she wasn't really ready to hold that title and you backed yourselves into a corner with her and Tiffany? Which, I mean, I feel like it's starting to become a little more obvious that that might have been the case, but I don't know. It's just, it's not good when literally everyone's blowing her off, especially when the opposite champion is Stephanie Vicaire. Like that's not even close to a comparison between those two. So yeah, it's a very lopsided title on the one show compared to the other. So it's just I don't know. I don't know what the heck they're doing. It's very confusing. But clearly they have their reasons, whether they actually make sense or not to us fans is whatever. But yeah, I'm much looking forward to Liv and Stephanie rather than seeing a one-sided match, because that would have been a little painful, especially at a WrestleMania. But you know what? And it's just how it is. But good for Liv. Like you said, she's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride, and she finally got over that hump. And here we are, as she should be. She should be in this position because the last few years of her have been nothing short of just spectacular.
Yes, definitely. So, congratulations to Liv Morgan, the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble winner. She is going on to WrestleMania to take on what looks like to be Stephanie Vicaire for the Women's World Championship. So, that's definitely going to be a great match. By the way, I gave the Women's Royal Rumble a 4 out of 5. What about you?
I gave it 3 3/4.
Okay, good, good.
So, the usual.
Yeah, the usual. We usually stay, for those of you that are listening for the first time, our ratings are usually pretty similar to each other. We stay pretty close to each other. So I wonder if
Yeah.
that's going to be the case for this next match. We had a match between Gunther and AJ Styles, and the caveat to this match is AJ Styles loses the match, he has to retire from the WWE. Now, honestly, I thought that this match was going to go differently than what had happened, because I felt like they were making it too obvious, because like you saw the thing like Shinsuke posted on Instagram saying that AJ told him he was going to retire, and everybody kept
Yeah.
saying that AJ somehow slipped up and told everybody that he was going to retire at the Royal Rumble. And I'm like, that's too
Easy.
too easy. That's too easy.
Yeah.
I feel like it's WWE playing with us. So I was adamant. I even said it. I was adamant. There was no way AJ Styles was going to retire. And I guess I was wrong. The match itself was great. There was a plan of attack coming into this match from AJ Styles, which was attack the leg of Gunther and soften him up for the calf crusher submission. But this was no different from many other Gunther matches we have seen in the past, just Gunther using his brute force to dictate the pacing of the match. Styles would get some offense in, but Gunther never let the match get too far away from him. Things got dicey when AJ was able to lock in the calf crusher, which was snuffed out by Gunther, and that's when he locked in a sleeper. AJ was able to hit Gunther with a Styles clash, but Gunther kicked out of AJ's best shots. Gunther tried cheating to get the win with the powerbomb, but AJ kicks out. From there, Gunther kicks it into another gear and starts pummeling AJ in the corner. From here, Gunther locks in his patented sleeper, and the crowd is into every attempt Styles makes to break the hold. AJ is literally inches away from the rope to break the hold, but the power of Gunther's sleeper is just too powerful for him to overcome. AJ's arms go limp, and the referee calls for the bell. The career of AJ Styles comes to an end. I thought it was a fantastic match despite the outcome, me not wanting the outcome to be AJ Styles retiring, but still I thought it was a great match, a pretty typical Gunther match, no different from his other matches, pretty similar to what he usually does. He really relies heavily on that sleeper. I thought the match was a 4 out of 5. What about you?
So I find this hilarious because if we would have ended up doing predictions, I would have won the title because I predicted Gunther to win, and I'm a little mad. But so you got really lucky on that one, because I feel like I felt the complete opposite as you did, where it's like, oh, it's too obvious, whatever. I'm like, no, it made too much sense, but just enough where it was just like, okay, well, it has to work because Gunther's already retired Goldberg, he's already retired John Cena, so what was gonna stop them from having him retire AJ Styles? I feel like that was just like the next person on the list. So I fully saw it coming. I was not surprised. The match itself was pretty good. Like you said, typical Gunther match, which isn't a bad thing. His stuff's always entertaining. But I feel like the only issue I had with it is that I feel like getting to like the big like crescendo at the end with all the false finishes and whatever. I think it took a little bit too long. I feel like they were a little slow in some parts, so I feel like
Mm,
we kind of got to the end a little like longer than we should have, but I don't think it took away from the match though. It was still really good. They both had the crowd in the palm of their hand,
yeah.
especially towards the end because it was just like, oh my God, is he actually gonna make Gunther tap? Oh my God, is he gonna like beat him with the Styles class? Oh my God, is he gonna like finally get out of the sleeper hold? And then holy shit, he actually like passed out. So good on them. I mean, I feel like that crowd was gonna be hot for that match regardless, but they obviously made it very believable throughout the whole thing. But yeah, so unfortunately where you were surprised, I was not. But I guess again you can keep the title for another pay-per-view or two, I guess, but it is what it is. But I also gave it 4 out of 5 flames because again, besides the maybe the ending that no one really wanted or a lot of people didn't really agree with and just like a little bit of the slow pacing towards the end before we got to like the big parts, I still thought it was a very great match. Perfect way to end Styles, let's say WWE career, because I think some people are still thinking, oh, is he going to go to like TNA? Is he going to
Right.
go to AEW? No one seems to really know, but for his WWE career at least, I'd say that was a pretty good send off, even if it wasn't Saudi Arabia. But couldn't change that, unfortunately.
Now let me ask you a couple things here. Do you think AJ Styles is going to hang him up completely, or we're going to see AJ Styles in a different location, different setting?
See, I feel like it'd be kind of tough because I feel like if he would go somewhere else, it would turn into, oh, well, of course you just wanted to leave WWE so you could go, have your like retirement tour with everybody in AEW or TNA, whatever. And I mean, I feel like he's gonna piss people off no matter what because you'll have that section of fans that want him to do like the greatest hits one last time with people that are in these other companies. Or if he doesn't, it'll be like, well, why wouldn't you do that? You have the opportunity now. It's like, at the end of the day, he can do whatever he wants.
Mm,
So I feel like I think he's just retired because I
mm,
feel like he doesn't really have anything he has to prove in
right.
TNA or AEW. I mean, yeah, you could have like those like good old day matches, but it's just like what's really the point? I don't think there's really much of a point because it's not like anybody on either side of it needs it. It would just be kind of like a nostalgia trip, and I don't think it's anything that he needs to put up with at this point, especially since it is pretty much the end of his career. So I feel like, you know what, just let him stay retired and let him enjoy retirement. I don't think he needs to go on the nostalgia tour anywhere.
Now, do you think that because they did it at the end of January so early in the year, do you think that they left opportunity for matches on the table that they didn't take advantage of? Or was it a good idea to go ahead and do the retirement so quickly right after we saw one retirement from John Cena?
I feel like it's so funny to me because I feel like we saw opposite ends of the retirement tour spectrum
Mm,
where, as we've unfortunately talked about many times, how Cena's retirement tour was so obviously not drawn out because we knew it was going to be that long, but it was just so it was such a piss poor like handling of it that I feel like it just left a lot of like a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And then I feel like with AJ Styles, it kind of just like did the complete opposite of it, where it was like, okay, you could have met in the middle. Like you could have had maybe a couple more months, maybe not the entire year like Cena, but you still could have had actual worthwhile matches and not why the fuck was this even part of a retirement tour match? Like unfortunately we saw a lot of last year, but perhaps AJ didn't want that. Maybe he's just like, I don't want to go this far anymore. I don't want to do this like anymore. This is it. So maybe that had something to do with it. But
mm,
yeah, I feel like it was just very ironic that both these guys retired in completely two completely different ways. And I feel like both left a little bit to be desired because I feel like if they could have, again, you don't know if AJ wanted it or not, but if they could have, maybe it would have been nice to see maybe a couple more matches with Styles, but clearly that's not what we got. But I would have enjoyed. I would have enjoyed if it was a little longer, but clearly WWE doesn't know how to handle retirement tours properly, I guess. But that's just me.
It's not their forte, basically.
Clearly not. I mean,
But
just look at the last year.
yeah, but thank you to AJ Styles for a wonderful career and
Yeah.
gracing us with his talents in the ring. I think he's going to be a tremendous asset backstage if that's something that he plans on doing, working backstage in a producer capacity or something like that. I think he's got a lot to offer the younger generation, that generation that is up and coming. So it's going to be interesting to see what his plan of action is going to be. But again, thank you to AJ Styles for a wonderful career. And sad to see it end the way it did against Gunther, who would not be done this night. He would not be done, but we still have one other match to go to before we get to the men's Royal Rumble, and that is for the undisputed WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre, the champion, defends the title against the number one contender, Sami Zayn, who won the number one contendership in a fatal four-way in Saturday night's main event. So here we have this match. Now, early on in the match, Sami Zayn went for a dive over the top rope and jammed his lower back, which played a factor for the rest of the match. From here, the pace of the match was controlled by Drew, who slowly picks apart Sami and his injured back. McIntyre hits Zayn with 3 future shock DDTs, and Sami barely is able to get a shoulder up to break the pin. With the last gasp effort, Sami tried stopping the momentum of McIntyre, but Drew is able to duck the haluva kick and hit Sami with a claymore, but Drew only gets a 2 count. Drew argues with the referee, allowing Sami to round off a haluva kick for only 2. Action spills to the outside where McIntyre sends Sami Zayn through the announcer's table with a powerbomb. Drew begins to pummel Zayn, but in typical Sami Zayn fashion, he does not quit. Sami clutches Drew and hits him with an exploder suplex in the corner. Sami goes running in for a haluva kick, but Drew hits Sami with a claymore. Now, instead of going for the cover, Drew hits Sami with another claymore and gets the 3 count win. This was a solid match. It helped make Drew come off as a true champion and played off the usual underdog of Sami Zayn. This might be the weaker match of the night, but I thought it was still pretty good. I gave it 3 3/4 out of 5 flames.
Yeah, I thought it was another solid match. I feel like this was one of those where you could definitely, I mean, obviously Sammy was the underdog in this one, but boy, when it came to the crowd, he sure wasn't, for obvious reasons. But I think what I thought was interesting about this match was that it kind of had the opposite effect that I said with Gunther and Styles, where I feel like it didn't take them as long to get to like the big moments and whatnot. So it got to the false finishes and the big moments like a lot quicker than Gunther and Styles, which is, I mean, I'm not complaining about that. I mean, it was still, again, very good match. I feel like it was pretty, I think it was pretty neck and neck with Gunther and Styles. Again, the crowd was super into it, obviously, because they were hoping Sammy could get it done. There were times where they got me where I'm like, is he really going to pull this off? And whether that would have been a good idea or not is a whole other can of worms. But no, still very entertaining match. Actually, are making Drew look good as a champion. Go figure. It's kind of what you have to do when you have the title on him. But yeah, these two have always had good chemistry, so we didn't really expect anything less. We knew it was going to be a good match either way. But yeah, I liked the fact of at the very end when Drew hit the second claymore, it's like you just to get that little extra. Okay, there's no doubt now. Like.
Yeah.
I like the little final nail in the coffin on that one, so I thought that was a very nice touch. I actually gave this also like Gunther and Styles 4 out of 5 flames because I think they were both pretty neck and neck with each other.
Nice. Now here's the thing: Sami Zayn is now 0-12 against Drew McIntyre. Does that mean Sami Zayn goes all the way to the back of the line? Is it time for him to start clawing his way back to the front of the line, or do you think they can round off another match or so?
I feel like it would be a little, I don't know, it's tough because I feel like you could run the risk of it going bad either way, because if you immediately have him try and go back for the title again, I wouldn't be surprised if people were like, oh, come on, he just had a match, are we really going to do this again? Because we know how fans are, they have short attention spans, they're fickle, so just because they liked it the first time doesn't, or the I don't know, 11th or 12th time doesn't mean they're
Yeah,
going to like it a 13th
yeah,
time. So, could get a little stale after a while. But again, do we also want to do the whole underdog story with them again? Because that's just pretty much been his entire persona in WWE is the ultimate underdog. But the problem is he's the ultimate underdog who still has yet to get it like fully done. But I don't know. I feel like it's a slippery slope as to which way you'd want to go. I would think he can at least go with the hopefully old reliable underdog story and just have him claw his way back because I feel like turning right around to get a rematch that most of the time nowadays in today's WWE isn't so much guaranteed. So I think that would be the more compelling story to do it if they're going to do it, or they're just going to completely forget it happened and move on. That's you never know with WWE, but if I had to go one way or the other, I would just have him fight his way back because I feel
right.
like trying to insert himself into the title picture once again after losing the 12th straight time to Drew McIntyre is probably not going to be the best option, I don't think.
And I honestly think they could set it up where they have Sami Zayn fight back and then go after whoever the champion is at next year's WrestleMania, which is going to be in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. So they
Yeah.
might use that as a way to get Sami over and have that big moment where he wins the world championship in front of the Saudi crowd, which is going to go crazy. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like maybe that's what they're planning on doing.
I feel like because it'd be very naive to think that they don't have that idea in mind already because they think months, possibly years in advance. So it's probably on the table. And I feel like it would have made the most sense because, yeah, the Rumble's a big deal, but I feel like the crowd wasn't as big as it would be when WrestleMania comes into town next year because what the fuck ever. But, it's going to be more than, what was it? I think I said 25,000, which I still don't really know if there were 25,000 people in that arena, but either way, it's going to be double, triple that. Will definitely triple, maybe even quadruple that for WrestleMania next year. So I feel like if that is the intended plan, I think it would just be smart just to hold it off until he can win it in front of a crowd like that. Because I feel like that would just make way more sense than have him trying to do it here, where, yeah, it would be a big moment, but it wouldn't be as big of a moment as it could be.
Yeah, I think so. But again, the match itself was pretty good. A solid outing for Drew McIntyre, making him look like a dominant champion. I like the idea of working the match around Sami's back. Again, it was a solid match. This probably would be one of those matches that, like, if it main event SmackDown, it would have been a
Yeah.
banger main event for SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
Which they could have did on the Friday before the Royal Rumble, but then again, there was only 4 matches on the card, so you had to go ahead and do this. Surprisingly, 4 matches on the card, but this was like a 4-hour show.
Yeah, they know how to drag it out, unfortunately. I mean, thankfully, when you're at a bar, you have food, you're like talking to your friends, so at least the in-betweens didn't feel as like I don't know. It would have felt more drawn out if I was probably watching it at home. I don't know about how you were feeling, where it's just like, oh my God, can we just get to the next match
I
already? We don't have to like sit here and wait through 5 hours of commercials between matches.
I was
But
definitely because I was doing a watch long stream on Twitch, so I was definitely feeling it, but it was because they make us sit through the PLE, but they also add in a bunch of ads, like
uh-huh.
4 minutes worth of ads after every match, and it was just like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, are we ever gonna get out of here?
Yeah, we did trivia, so I mean that was that was our entertainment in between the matches.
Nice.
But no, we had a little game when it came to the men's rumbles, so I will get into that when we get in. Well, obviously we will get into it because it was the only other match left. But definitely made it go by a little quicker. I feel like I'll just let you take it over. We'll get to it when you
No, well,
go through.
the last match on the card is the men's Royal Rumble, which was definitely very interesting. It was a great idea starting off the Royal Rumble with Obafemi, who you can tell is going to be a
Yeah.
big star on the main roster. What do you think about Obafemi coming in at number 1 and just dominating the opening of the men's Royal Rumble?
I thought it was pretty interesting for a little bit, but um, a couple of my friends and some of the other patrons in the bar were kind of like, well, like, can we really not do this again? Because this is what Lesnar essentially did a couple years ago. So
Mhm.
they're like, I really don't like the fact of you got one guy in there and yeah, you want to assert the dominance and make him look like the big bad guy, whatever, but at the expense of, I mean, in Lesnar's case, half the fucking Rumble, but it wasn't as bad with Oba, and I feel like it was a little more palatable because it wasn't as bad, but hey, people were wondering what big of an impact was he going to make when he showed up. I'd say that was a pretty good start, and I like the fact that they played into the fact that they fucked up with the whole Braun was supposed to be number one, and then you had Heyman come on the pre-show and yell at
Yeah.
Pierce, and Pierce being like, "Well, fuck you." Then I guess he'll be at number two because why not? And then they kind of have had to have like that whole thing with the mask guy happen again, and I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know. I feel like the only two people I saw online, and I don't know which one you think's more likely. One thought a lot of people thought it was either Rollins or Pierce, and I'm
Mhm.
like, if that was Pierce, wouldn't that kind of be like a conflict of interest or abuse of power? I guess I don't think
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I don't think he would
Eh,
go that far.
no, but I also don't think that didn't look like Rollins either. I mean, granted, yeah, he could have had a baggy hoodie or stuff on, but I also don't know if he could move that well. But or I mean, but then again, I mean, you don't know how far along into his recovery he is, but still, I don't feel like, regardless of what your injury is, I don't know someone being hurt that would be moving that smoothly. So who knows who it actually could be? But I think it was kind of, I don't know. I feel like we didn't really need it because then you could have just had okay, Pierce screwed him over, and then something happens and he gets eliminated early, and then he starts getting pissy with Pierce, and it's like, well, maybe if you would have kept your mouth shut, you could have, had a better position, or I could have put you in a lot like a higher position. But no, you decided to run your mouth, so I gave you number two, and this is what you get. But I thought what I think they kind of missed on that opportunity, at least what I think, was so you have him attack Braun, and then he gets taken out. So we're like, oh my God, who could that have been? What the heck happened? But I feel like it would have made maybe, I don't know, I guess a little more like continuity sense for me is if you did the same thing to Bronson Reed, because that's what I was expecting. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, well, what if Bronson Reed comes out and the same guy comes out and takes him out too? But that never happened. So I thought it was kind of odd. So maybe that does kind of lean more into the whole, maybe it was Adam Pierce, but again, I don't know how they're going to spin that if that's the case. But but yeah, the men's rumble as a whole, it I mean, they had I mean, I guess a couple surprises if you really want to call it that, but again, there really weren't that many. Like I'm looking down the line again, there was Mr. Iguana, that was kind of funny. Yeah, both Grande Americanos, which I mean, you knew that was bound to happen at some point. You had see now what I thought was interesting was when they brought out Powerhouse Hobbs. Now it's Royce Keys. Clearly, AEW doesn't have a trademark on Powerhouse Hobbs because how else was he allowed to do that in
Mhm.
WWE and not get sued?
Right.
Because I feel that so maybe they never had the like rights to his name, which if that's the case, that's very dumb on their part. But whatever. So he was pretty good. Thinking of what else. La Parka was in there. He was pretty good. Um, the thing that I thought was so the fun part of this Rumble with us was the hosts were doing a thing where if you came up and gave $3, or I think it was like $2, if you came up to them and gave them $2, they had like a little bowl, and you got to pick a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper had a number from 1 to 30. And so essentially, whatever number you got, whoever was the entrant in the Rumble, if they won the whole Rumble, you got half the money. So I think ended up being still like $30, but still it would have been just for the thrill of competition or something.
Mm.
So one of my friends and I, because I'm trying to remember, there was four of my friends, my mom and I. So my one friend went up and got one, and he got number 30. So I'm like, well, lucky fucking you, I guess. So then my mom went up and she got 27, and I'm like, all right, I
Wow.
think 27's I think a little bit better than 30, I think, but we'll see. Like I said, it might be someone like completely shitty. So we're sitting there, and 27 comes out, and it's Jacob Fatu, and I'm like, okay, that's like not a bad pick. That wouldn't have been terrible. I don't know if he was really going to have a chance, but at least it wasn't somebody that it's like, well, that's a waste of a time, but whatever. And then number 30 came out, and I looked at my friend and they said, I fucking hate you. Because I honestly thought when Gunther came out, I'm like, well, he's going to just do the whole thing at the show, isn't he? He's going to retire Styles and he's going to go ahead and win the Rumble because why the hell not?
Right.
And clearly that didn't end up happening though. And kind of my poor friend, he's just like, what the hell? I had the perfect scenario. Like, it was 30, it was Gunther. Like, what could go wrong? And then it went wrong. But, it is what it is. But, yeah, this was the problem I had, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier. Having Roman Reigns win the Rumble was very uninspired, I guess is the word I guess I could come up with, because this was the one where I was like, he doesn't need to win a Rumble or do anything like that to get a main event at WrestleMania. He's Roman fucking Reigns, so if he wants a main event at WrestleMania, he's gonna get it some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
So I thought it was kind of silly that they felt the need to have him win the Rumble, especially since I don't know if you had heard this, but I'd seen this like roaming around on Twitter that he was doing an interview with somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but he pretty much like called Nick Khan out for being like, yeah, the last few years we haven't really done enough creatively to like create new stars, essentially. It's like calling out Nick Khan and like creative and stuff. And then they turn right around and they give the Rumble to him. So I thought it was a rather, ironic
Yeah, I think
scenario.
I know he had said something like that, something similar like that on the Pat McAfee show.
That might have
Um,
been it, yeah.
yeah, that they haven't been making any new stars or anything like that. Bold, definitely bold of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I was okay with Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. I thought what really put it over and what really sold me on the match is what happened on Monday Night Raw between he and CM Punk. The verbal back and
Yeah.
forth that he and CM Punk had. I think there's some real life animosity and real life drama there that you can hang on to sell the match. And I thought that they did a really, really good job there selling that match with, talking about CM Punk going away and making Roman Reigns' career more difficult because of the whole gotta make Roman look strong thing.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, all that bad blood and that bad history between Roman Reigns and CM Punk coming to light, I think was a really smart move and a really good way to sell the tickets to the show for the match. So I'm really excited for it. Last night really got me excited on Raw for the match. So I think it's crazy because Roman is so good at what he does. I think that is a big oversight, you know.
Yeah.
Roman being as good as he is at what he does, you kind of feel like I even said it in my notes when he came out as number 26. The mood of the whole evening, the whole Royal Rumble, the mood of it just changed, you
Yeah.
know. Like
Yeah.
then you instantly feel like stuff is getting serious, you know.
Yeah.
So um
I was mad because I'm like, I was one away from actually winning because I'm like, you couldn't have waited one singular spot left. I could have won $30, but whatever. But yeah, it was, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like they still could have done that without him having to win the Rumble, but I
right.
mean, that's just a way to fast track it, I guess. But yeah, the exchange on Monday was definitely got people excited for it, obviously myself included. I did like how they went all the way back to years ago when Punk left. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they were like, yeah, no, he can hold a grudge, and rightfully so, because if I was in Roman's position, I would be pissed. I would have been really pissed at Punk, but yeah, no, I just thought it was just funny the timing of that whole thing where he pretty much calls out creative for not creating any new stars, and then WWE's like, yeah, you know what, Roman, we'll show you, you're winning the Rumble. And then it was just like, okay, like sure. But but yeah, it'll be a very interesting few months leading up to the Rumble because I'm trying to remember if this is like more of a recent thing because I feel like we've usually had to wait a little bit to see, oh, who are they gonna pick, even though it's really obvious who they were gonna pick. But yeah, it was pretty instantaneous of like, nope, it's gonna be Punk and Roman, but at least now that gives them more time to spend building up the story and creating more animosity with them, even though it probably is a little more realistic than we think. But yeah, I mean, why not get it set in stone and then just put the foot on the gas on the creative and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. And really good that the fact that they're giving it a lot of time to build up the story and let it kind of dictate, because once you put CM Punk and Roman Reigns on the marquee, you're gonna sell tickets, whether it's Raw, whether it's a pay-per-view or anything like that. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what they do, and it's very interesting to see what they're gonna do with Drew McIntyre and the
Yeah.
Undisputed Championship, because Cody Rhodes got himself eliminated by Drew McIntyre, who wasn't even in the match. But the caveat was
Yeah.
in the contract that the Royal Rumble was Cody Rhodes' last opportunity to try to get back at Drew McIntyre
Hmm.
and the Undisputed Championship, and now that goes away to nothing.
Yeah, it's Drew knew what he was doing. He wasn't stupid. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting if they, pretend that didn't exist or they move in a different direction. But I mean, you feel bad for Cody a little bit, but you also signed the contract, so you kind of knew what you were getting, I guess. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do what they do from there. But yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting WrestleMania season for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I gave the men's Royal Rumble 3 3/4 flames out of 5. What about you? What did you give it?
I also gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5.
There you go. All right.
Look
So
at us.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the men's Royal Rumble. Very good. I like the show itself was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Like I enjoyed the matches and I enjoyed the Royal Rumble and everything like that because it's the Royal Rumble. So I thought the show was pretty good. I gave it a thumbs up. I think
Yeah,
but the only thing I would have wanted is maybe one more match.
yeah, something.
You know,
Just a little something extra to make it seem like it was completely worthwhile, not just "Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it was good, but it was still pretty short. But
yeah.
yeah, an extra match would have done it a little, gave him a little more of a boost, I guess. But still not bad with what we got.
But yeah, it was still pretty good. Very enjoyable Royal Rumble. So there you have it. The men's Royal Rumble winner Roman Reigns looks like he's going to be facing CM Punk at WrestleMania. And for the women, Liv Morgan, all signs point to Liv Morgan facing Stephanie Vaquer. But she did say she was going to be on SmackDown to scout out Jade Cargill. So we're going to see if maybe she's going to show up on SmackDown just to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, because I feel like please stay away from Jade because it's not going to be anything productive at this point, and it's just let's just stick with the good matchup here and just do the worst kept secret of you're going to pick Stephanie because that's just the only real option that's going to make it entertaining.
Yeah, there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our rundown of the 2026 Royal Rumble from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We basically finished up the show. Like I said, it was going to be a little bit light this episode because of the fact that there were only 4 matches on the card for the Royal Rumble, but still a pretty good show. And we thank you
Yeah.
for joining us. No, go ahead. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh no, it's just we stuck around and it was gonna be like we said a short episode, but I still think we did pretty good.
We did.
We always do.
We always do. Yeah, we always do a good job. And next week is going to be a fun episode because next week allows us to answer your questions about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. So if you have a question that you would like to ask us for the podcast next week, the best way to do it is on Monday afternoon. Look out on our Twitter account. On our Twitter account, Ringside Rundown, we'll post up a tweet asking you guys to send us in some questions to answer about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling, and you drop your questions in the replies to that tweet. Again, on our Twitter account, Ringside Rundown, Monday afternoon, I'll be asking for questions. You can also send in your questions to our Discord server. Our Discord server link is in the description of this podcast, so all you have to do is just copy that link. When you go to Discord, hit the green check mark to verify that you're a human being and then you can check out the Discord. In that server, there's a channel for podcast questions. You can ask us questions, and we'll answer it on the podcast. That'll happen next week. It'll be a questions episode, and this podcast can be found on all podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find this episode and more from the Ringside Rundown podcast. All you have to do is just search up Ringside Rundown, hit the follow or subscribe button. But if you don't have a particular platform that you use to listen to podcasts but still want to check out the show, you can check out the show on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ringsiderunpod. Once again, that's youtube.com/@ringsiderunpod, where we have full episodes of the podcast. And don't forget, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am on Twitch and YouTube doing multi-streams for WWE Raw, SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, and AEW Collision. So please come join me and hang out with me while I watch some wrestling. We have a good time, and it's always fun in chat. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on my wrestling Twitter at ShayRingside_. We always say it's just like Eric's, except I copied the homework a little bit.
Yeah, she just jacked my swagger a little bit. That's all.
It's literally the meme of like, hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, go ahead, just don't make it obvious.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of made it obvious a little bit, but hey, we gotta stay on brand.
All right. Well, you guys look out for next week's episode where you can ask us questions. We really want you to participate in the episode, so please don't be afraid to ask us questions about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. We'd love to answer your questions on the next episode. For Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll check you out next time.
See you later, guys.